Hello, my name is Steve Cox, and welcome to my YouTube page. Again, we're talking about Carbide Create and Carbide Create Pro training. Quick tip 2, bit cutting access. So the skills we're going to look at are how nodes function and move around and how we play with them. And then we're going to look at building a toolpath to aid in your design. So you can see in the picture on the right, we're going to look at how the bit goes in there. It looks kind of funky, so that's what we're going to talk about.
So one of the things I want to talk about is cut access. So when you draw these up, you have to plan ahead as to, how much, what size of bit you want to use. And the smaller the bit, the more cut time, the larger the bit, the larger. So you want to cut with a larger bit, speed things up. But if you really want this detail in here, you've got to jump down to a smaller bit. So in this case, I'm going to go all the way down to a 1/16 inch bit. And so I made a little circle representing the size of the bit. I'm using millimeters, so just a little bit bigger than 1/16. It's 1.6 millimeters in diameter. And so then I can take this little bit represented and I can walk it through here and I can see where it'll fit and where it won't. So if I get in here and it's a little tight, like I don't necessarily can't cut back into that corner there. So I'll come up and I'll highlight that. I'll come over to my edit node tool and I come in and I pull the nodes up and I say, well, I'm going to take this and I'm going to grab that handlebar and I'm going to flatten it out a little bit. So now that bit, that'll get in there a little better. It makes it a little better. You can also just move the node around and play with that too. So you can move the node around to get what you want. So that's works as well. So when you're done with all that, you can pull up a toolpath, and this is one that I made with an outside contour, and then you can go see with your bit. Hey, it's getting back into here to all these areas like I like. So it's not just can you cut it? And so yes, this is getting in here and cutting it. So you also have to evaluate the remaining material that you have. Will this piece of wood in my stock, will that stand up? Will it break off, or will it stay? So if you're using pine, obviously pine's a little softer wood, and I would pretty much say that these are going to break off when you cut it. But if you want to jump to oak or a harder wood, it's much more stout, and so this detail will hold. So that's something when you're choosing your wood in your project that you have to put into your project planning. It also is, the grain of the wood comes into being, and that's a little bit random since your drawing cuts across all kinds of areas. Another thing I have found is when I run these little exploratory toolpaths I've got here, that you find some things that are kind of wacky. And so, like this has not got a toolpath on it. That means it's not connected to the one that I drew. So if I want to connect it, I've got to fiddle with that. And down here, I've got some areas. Well, this is obviously not going to fit, so I have to figure that out. Now, you can't do any changes in toolpath. You have to go back to design. When you go back to design, this line disappears. So that's kind of interesting. But you can also see in here, I've got a vector running off by itself, kind of rogue. And so I'll have to pull that in and find out if I want to connect this back over here and make this. So that's how you play around with it until you get it like you like it and tweak it. But that's one of the little tips that I've come up with that's helped me do some of these drawings and save me some frustration when I get to the end and I'm trying to, cut it, and I find out that not only want to cut, but the areas are too small and pieces are breaking off. So this has helped me avoid a lot of frustration.
Well, thank you for your time. I hope this was valuable to you. If it was, please like and subscribe. I've put together some links that are helpful, not only from Carbide Create sites, but also for some other good YouTube sites and just some other resources that you can draw from.